Folks, welcome to Uptown New Orleans. This is a special edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, and joined today by a high priestess. I have focused my show a lot on very dynamic women over the last year, dancers, yoginis, teachers, and leaders, and I get a chance today to speak to a high priestess, Queen Diambi. Welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thank you very much. Welcome. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to express myself and talk a little bit about me and my kingdom.
I wanted you to talk a little bit, if you could, in Congo, when you were a young girl, about how women were treated, and most importantly, how you grew into a strong woman.
So, first of all, I have to introduce myself properly. That's the tradition. So, I'm Diambi, mukalinga mukajiwan kashama, Kabatusuila chiyomwata, wabakwa luntu, nebakwa mpungu, wakasayuluba, wa Congo. So that's my name as my title. So, I grew up in Congo, and I was a very, very little active girl. So, which was kind of rare because mostly girls were not very active. So we did a lot of activities as usually boy would do. But so I didn't really see at the time what was the difference. And I was just called almost like a tomboy. But as I grew into my teenagehood, there was really a difference in the role women and men play. So teenage years, it started to really be very, very strong. So in Congo, usually women are expected to do certain roles and men are expected to do other roles. But when you look at our tradition, that's the case. But that doesn't mean that because they have different roles and function in society, that they are not equal.
What roles are women supposed to take on?
Well, women have the roles of to do the rearing of the children, to do the education, to also be the cement of the community, to be advisors. When there's problems, we have usually councils of women. Women gets together. Marketplace is really, really heavily depending on women activity. Agriculture is also the women, and a lot of crafts, are also for women. Men, they will usually have roles mostly outside of the home, and I'm referring to city life more than rural life, because rural is a little bit different. But men are usually will be in a city, like more like working in offices and maybe medicine, doctors, and things like that. That doesn't mean that women don't have these access to these professions, but on top of the professions that they have to take care also of the classic or standard role of women, which is not really a lot for men. They will just go out there and work, get the check, come home, and then of course they have the role of being the head of the family, but not in the sense that women are subservient to them. It's just that they are the head of the family. But we have not to forget that Africa also has a lot of influence from Western culture. So with the Christianity and Islam that have come to Africa and took over Africa, a lot of the roles are similar to everywhere else, where women, were under those diktats of the Islam faith or Catholic or Christian faith. That is quite different. So we have to get a mix of everything.
Can you talk? You overcame the adversity to find your own voice.
Absolutely. Like I said, I was a very active little girl. I was, and I grew up to be also a very independent teenager and young woman. And it was really interesting because I was born I'm the third one of a family of three, but then later on, my father remarried and had other children. But at the beginning, he was just he had three children, and we And seemingly now my father actually said something to me just recently. He said, I used to tell him when I was a child, a very young child, that I used to tell him that I'm a boy. I used to tell my father I was maybe 3 or 4 years old. It seems like that energy of being a boy is really what came out. And interestingly, later on in life, I fought my way through a very difficult,
fairly. And I just wonder if you could talk a little bit about the injustice that women face, and if that is something that you try to bring light to in your travels.
Absolutely, absolutely. Of course, I'm a female king, and that doesn't. I'm female, so I can understand all these issues. And Congo, in particular, we have a very, very difficult situation in Congo. We have a war that's been going on for almost now, like 10 years going on in the east of the country, and of that war we know what's going on with women, and women have been used to really hurt the country, and they've been raped because rape has been used as a weapon of war. And you just saw that the Nobel Peace Prize was given to Dr. Mukwege for the work that he's doing to repair women. He's a magician. He helps women not only repair them physically from the trauma they have suffered from the rapes, but also try to give them a safe haven and a safe space, which is the city of joy that he has created. So yes, women, and I speak a lot with the women dialogue, the intercultural women dialogue in Africa that's happening. I'm also usually in events for women international. We're advocating for how much women has to take more active role into making decision as far as the governance of our country in all the institutions, so that we guarantee that women have a better life. Because once a woman has a better life, then the children have a better life, regardless of if they're men or they're boys or girls. Women is the foundation of the basic foundation of society lies on women. And so little princesses and prince, because I want to show that whatever you are, you can get stronger and become an advocate for your community. So now I want to show the little girls that you can be a king, in the sense that in Africa, especially because we have stereotype about Africa, and traditional Africa is showing us that no, a woman can be a king in Africa, and this is from our traditions. So it's not something new. It's something that has been happening all throughout the continent. So we integrate in our tradition the fact that women and men are equal. And yes, indeed, we may have different roles, but the different roles are not, to inferiorize one or to put the other on the pedestal. It's really because it seems like we are better at doing it. So in a sense, if you are better at doing it, this is where your mastery lies, then do it, because it's, after all, it's for the community. It's really not an individualistic approach. So if you are better at doing this and you are better at doing that, well, the two of us cover left and right field. So we're a team. So we cannot be redundant in our ability to do things. So to be efficient, everybody has to define, to see the area of expertise, and basically women and now the science here is basically telling us the same thing. Women have a different brain than men. So it's not possible to think alike. So we are definitely equal, but we are not similar. And it's okay not to be similar, because in whatever the differences are, they are meant so we can work together and bring the best potential in each other, so that we can really build a community that is strong and that is really well balanced. So we have to keep that in mind when we talk about women issues.
This is a question I ask a lot of musicians, but I wanted to ask you as a Queen Diambi. When did you first access your multidimensional self?
Well, I think probably from childhood.
Could you give an example? I guess a lot of times, and this doesn't, there are cats that when they're on the bandstand and they don't use drugs at all, but they leave their physical body.
Yeah.
Okay, can you talk about some kind of experience when you started to access that, everybody has that in them?
Well, the sense that we are, how can I say that? The sense that we are broader. It's a sense that it seems like I've always had, because, when I was a child, I always, felt that I was broader than what you can actually see. Maybe it's my ego. I don't think so, because I'm very simple in a way, but it could be. But I had an experience, I would say, after I graduated university in New York, because I went to college. My first
What
degree,
school was it?
It was a City University of New York. It was a college of Staten Island. Wow. So after I graduated from there, I used to go to Harlem to a refuge temple, because I had a family of African American that really took me in as their daughter, brought me into understanding the African American culture, and it was something of almost like a fantasy to me to approach these big black churches where they had amazing choirs and this the pastor on the pulpit. That was something that I would see from afar because he was on TV, and he was like, So when I got to meet one of my very, very best friends, who was actually my sister, her family adopted me when I was a foreign student from Africa and from Europe. So I became part of the family, and then we would go to church together, and it was amazing. But then one time I wanted to show the church to another friend of mine that came from Europe. He was actually also from Congo, but lived in Belgium. And I invited him over. I said, come and see this. It's a magnificent place. You have to go and see. So I went to the church with him, but there was no service, like a major service. So I was a bit disappointed, but there was a prayer service. So they said, come on, since you're here, you might as well join the prayer group and pray together. And, it's about community and so forth. And when I was praying, one of the person of the deacon or something like that asked me about, if I was baptized with the Holy Spirit. And I was like, what's that? That's new to me. Like, what is the Holy Spirit? And, and then, I was like, but of course I'm baptized with the Holy Spirit. I mean, I was from a Catholic upbringing. So I was baptized when I was like 2 weeks old or something. But of course I'm baptized with the Holy Spirit. But then I went back to my seat and I started saying, what is this? I never really heard about this, like baptized of the Holy Spirit, blah, blah, blah.
You never heard that phrase?
No. Yeah. Because in Catholic Church, baptism goes on when you're a child. Right. And we never speak about it after that, unless you're not from the Catholic faith and you convert later on. So I was starting to ask the question, and I said, I remember some of the verses of the Bible were saying when you ask a question, it will be answered. When you knock, the door will be open. And another third one is ask and you shall receive. So I was like, on the premises of that information, I am asking, and it was just like almost like a fantastic transformation, like an epiphany, and a feeling to really belong to everything. Not just to belong, to be me, but to be everything. And from that moment on, the quest started to know more about the Holy Spirit, to know what it was, blah, 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 because I'm inquisitive and very analytical.
I understand.
And then understanding and how did that information work with my culture. And then this is when the big aha started to come, because it was well connected with my Western culture. But however, what was the equivalent? How was it attached to my traditional African culture? Because my great-grandparents, or my great-grandparents were kings and queens, and my grandparents were wonderful people, absolutely adorable, but they were never Christians. And they were absolutely adorable. So I wanted to know, but how does that relate to the fact that my African family or my African ancestors who didn't have the Bible, so were they bad? Didn't they know that information? So what happened now? So then I started to investigate, the history of religions and the history of, spirituality and how it developed. And I start realizing that, no. It's been always there. And then I started to investigate different traditions and explaining to them the experience that I had. And they're like, oh, no, we have it too. So I started to speak to Native Americans and, autochthon population all over the world, because I travel a lot. And then researching and realizing that it was really a phenomenon, a worldwide phenomenon. It was part of our human nature to be able to access that part, that sparkle of divine that we have in us, that some may call the Holy Spirit, but that is really the parcel of divinity that everyone has. And then I started to really learn to respect everybody's culture, and I started to also understand that I had to research my own culture so I can really have an anchor, a solid anchor into my own heritage, my own cultural heritage, and not to necessarily have to throw away my heritage because here I found something amazing here. Well, it was across the board. Every people in the world is built in with that particular sparkle of divine. And then I found out later on in my traditional language, Muchima means the heart. But Muchima in our cosmogony, and when we talk about, the creation myth and all that, Muchima is also the vessel in which God is implanted in every of his creation. So if my ancestors, my great-grandfather, my great-great-great-grandfather, of all these Africans that came before me so that I can be manifested today, knew about the Muchima and the principle that we are all with a sparkle of divine, we are all made with that container of that, that wholeness, that force of creation that contains everything, that contain every single knowledge and every single potential. If they knew about it for centuries, how can that separate them from the ones who pretend to say, well, we are the only one with the truth? So I think it's very arrogant to claim that the truth is only known by few, when we all know we are created by that one and unique principle. It's almost to say that if the same parents were to have two children, one would be human and the other one wouldn't be. It's impossible. We are all made out of the same substance. The blueprint is the same for all of us. If not, we wouldn't be human. We would be something different. So therefore, I respect every single tradition so long as the premises of that tradition is to teach people, or condones the fact that we have to love one another, we have to care for one another, we have to respect one another, and we have to help each other grow, and we also have to bring that awareness to everybody else. So I always say, if you are in a system that do not support those premises, and not only support them by words but by action, then you have the right, because you are divine, to question if this is the right teaching, and if you have to you have the right to investigate, basically, and you have the right to question. So therefore, and from then on, it was just growth, because growth comes with, challenge, questions. So I encourage everyone, wherever you are, ask yourself questions. Questions, that's how we work. This is how we find things out about ourselves. Don't be afraid. Go ahead, look in front of the mirror, ask questions, and then just go on a quest, basically, because life is a quest.
How do you you made a point to say that when people become holier than thou, when they look down on you, they have more. That's where it gets tough for you. But when in diaspora, when the slaves come here, the Europeans say to them, if you want to be saved, they are the devil because of their skin color, so they must receive Christianity. Mm-hmm. Okay, they weren't even allowed to practice their own spiritual practices mm-hmm. from Africa. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do you justify? How do you? And you are a Christian, or you're Catholic.
That's the faith I was brought up to. But now I am an African. I don't need a label.
Explain to the world what an explain that, because I want other people to hear this.
So when I told you about my history, that was part of my history. But when you come to a place of wisdom, you don't need those determinants. You are human. I'm an African. I'm human. Why do I need a label? What having a label add to anything that I do? You want to know who I am? Look at what I do. Mm-hmm. Look at my behavior. I can name myself Christian, and I have no people that name themselves Christian, but it's not, Christian faith is not about being named a Christian. Christian faith is about being Christ-like. So you can be Christian, but if you're not Christ-like, for me, it's like, whoop, and everybody can be Christ-like regardless of the faith that they call themselves, or even if they don't, a confessional. Like if they may be atheists and believe in nothing, but yet again, they can be Christ-like, and Christ-like is really enlightened and kind and loving, and really being a part of a community where you are an additive to the community for people to thrive. So I don't label myself I refuse to label myself, because once you label yourself something, that means you reject everybody else. You may say, yes, I can kumbaya, but then what then when in your in your faith they tell you to separate yourself from others? For me, any religion that teaches you to separate yourself, to create separation, is sectarian. Right. Because sect means to cut. Sécateur. A sécateur is so when you start parting yourself from others for XYZ reason, then this is when I say ask the question, is increased separation something that really is something that we should celebrate? Or is it that we should just celebrate the fact that we can express ourselves to the divine principle of creation in so many ways that are beautiful, each of them that contains such ability to help the individual grow into that divine self? And we can celebrate just like we like jazz, and we like classic, and we like salsa, or we like tango, we like
soul music.
Yeah, soul music, or funk, or hip hop. We can also have a calling for a particular way of expressing the love for the whole, the creator. Some people can call him God. Some people can call him Mohammed. They can be manifest as prophets. They can be manifest as Messiah, as saviors, whatever works. But the end result has to show that you are Christ-like, and not the end result has to show that you want to separate yourself from everybody else, and that you different, and you are the whole. It may be just a smile. It may be just a kind word that you bring to someone, and I've seen faces light up, And people say, it's a moment of transformation. I've had parents call me for just maybe few instants that I've spent with their daughter, hugging and encouraging them and see the beauty in everyone. So we are trained in this society to always look at what's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. Something is not up to par. And I understand I'm an economist as well, and I'm a psychologist as well. So creating a sense of lack, creating a sense of something's not right with you, it comes with a flip side. The flip side is we can do something so you can be better. So usually that something, unfortunately, is filled by you can get stuff.
Right.
You can get
material stuff.
Popularity, people liking you, clicking likes on your Facebook, clicking likes on your Instagram, and here you are. Right. But it's not about that. If you can, we have lack. But if we can show that we can fill that, the flip side of that can be just be kind, and you're going to see what you can do in somebody's life. And it does work. It does work on me when somebody smiles at me, or even the eye contact. Sometimes people are busy, especially now with their iPhones and the other ones, the Samsungs and all these new devices of all kind that you even have in your watch now, in your glasses now. We're gonna have them. Everybody is so connected to something that is out there and not connected to something that is right here. So out there, I prefer right there than out there. So I think that this is something that we have to reclaim, because the sense of being human is not because you are made out of bones and flesh, and being human is the ability to connect with others. Matter of fact, an infant child that is not connecting with another human, you can feed the child, you can bathe the child, you can make sure the child is clean, and the child is in a safe place. But if they are not human with the child to interact, that child will die. So what makes us human is that the fact that we need to connect with others, and it's about that spirit. It's about Muchima. Muchima needs to connect with Muchima to be alive. So that's really the fundamental principle of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is the African traditional philosophy that says, I exist because you are. I am because you are. So if you are not, I am not. And this is what being human is.
One final question for you, Queen.
Yes.
Why do you come to Baba Bill Summers' house for the ceremony? What is representative here in this abode? What is spiritual about it? What we took part in last night? Why come here?
Oh well, this is I'm an African queen.
Yes.
But Africa is not a place. Africa is a people. Africa is a way of thinking. And Africans, and I have to correct you on what you said earlier. You talked about the slaves. We were never slaves. We were captive. It's different. We were not born to be slave. We were never slave. We were captive, and then we were kept in captivity, basically. Mm-hmm. We were enslaved people. We were people kidnapped and taken here and kept and kept.
That's when the whips came out, and
yes.
That's when the slave.
Yeah, but if you had not used reinforcement strategies of fear, of atrocity, like violence, extreme violence, and we would have walked away from the forced labor camp that are called plantation, but they're really forced labor camp. So my calling is to reunite energy of the cosmic to come and bring balance and to come and bring healing to where once darkness was and eroded the quality of life. So to restore the quality of life, to restore the integrity of our being, physical being, mental being, and spiritual being, we have to realign ourselves with the cosmos. And that's why we beat the drum. That's why we pound the earth. That's what we let, like I say, let the universe dance you. The universe is feeding the drummers with the flow of energy that they are able to translate with these codes, these beats, these sounds, and the dancer is part of this whole cycle. So it's an exchange, and we let the universe dance us, because in that dance we accept a contract, we accept to be healed, we accept to say, I'm here, I just show up, let's be together as a community. And that's another thing, we heal as a community. So you cannot just be by yourself. You have to bring people together so we can beat the drum, and they are dancers, and we feed each other in that energy, and we create like a vortex that allow us, every single individual, all the strength of each one, all the qualities of each one brings a different aspect of creation to flow through the Muchima. And therefore we created a beautiful space, sacred space, because every single one in the healing space is important. And this is what we do. This is how African work. And not only Africans in the flesh, like in the color, but Africans who are autochthone people, who are still connected with this earth and the fundamental laws of creation, and who are still listening to nature, to what Mother Nature has to teach us. Because that's how African people understood creation. They understood creation through observing creation. Observing creation. So once you observe creation long enough, because we've been around for, let's say, 400,000 years. So that's a long time for the Africans to have had time to observe reality, to observe nature, and to draw, to deduct what could be the laws of nature. And it has worked for thousands and thousands of years. We have built societies that were very, very balanced, where human life and life in all aspects was revered and respected. And when you look at, for instance, the Mahat, the laws, the 42 laws of Mahat, you can understand how the African conceptualized of how to live together, what was necessary to create cohesion in the community, but also prosperity in the community without destroying nature. So let's get back to our elders and see what we need to rekindle our connection with what the whole aspect of who we are. So that takes a community to do that.
Did somebody like? How did you know it was time to become a king, and then is it something that you pass along? Is there a lineage to it? Do you pass it on? And if so, how does that? Who will you? What?
I get your question. Yeah. I get it all the time. Yeah, I didn't know it was time to become the king. The crown knew when it was my time to become a king. So I had no clue whatsoever until I got to in front of the house of the crown of my people that I had been selected to be the next king. And the one who was coming before me was my father, but my father rejected it because he felt he was not really interested in, this is old tradition.
Right.
My father was a high-level civil servant. He was an ambassador. He's a lawyer. He's a doctor in economics. He's really into Western paradigm. So he's the African that has been westernized. So a crown with cowrie shell, a scepter from the ancestors, not very interesting. So because it was the turn of our world home to where the power of our people needed to sit, they had to find an alternative. And finding an alternative means the elders of the community will consult with each other, and also they will consult the oracle. And the oracle is nothing much but that's muchima that's we contain. So oracle is not some kind of spirit that's floating around. Oracle is that deeper self, that broader self, to bring it. And there is a way to dialogue with our broader self. And this is how they picked me. And then I wasn't even aware that I was from royal blood, because my father completely cut himself off from his tradition. And it's only until like a couple of months before, no, a year before I was crowned, a year and a half before I was crowned, that I knew the story of my family. I knew that my great-grandfather was King Chiomwata and my great-grandmother was Queen Diambi. So a year, and then I was like, okay, I guess I'm a princess because, but then when I got to where the seat of the crown was, that's where they told me, Diambi, you are to be crowned Queen Diambi.
Queen Diambi, I know you have a very busy schedule. You're going to see the King of Morocco, yes, I believe, in Miami, or?
No. I'm flying from New Orleans to Miami tonight. Tomorrow at 4, I'm flying from Miami to Rabat in Morocco.
Wow.
And I have a program there, which is a conference of the kings of Africa, organized by the King Mohammed VI, His Majesty the King Mohammed VI. And to get all the traditional kings of Africa, traditional rulers of Africa, because maybe it's time that we awaken, some part of that aspect of our humanity, of our human history, because African history and African heritage belongs to humanity. It's not a separate heritage that doesn't have to profit the rest of humanity. So we have to now take a stand and take our place at the round table and start saying, hey, listen, maybe we can go this way. Because we went this way, the result, it would take another 60 shows for me to go and talk about an assessment of the society we have created for ourselves. But maybe now we can bring a old, more ancient voice to the table with all the autochthone population of the world, and we are the representative of these people. So that's what I'm doing.
Queen Diambi, I hope to someday continue with part 2 and maybe do it in the motherland. That's my goal.
You are welcome, because I'm trying to organize, I'm organizing the first return to the Congo, the first pilgrimage of the people of this side of the ocean to the Congo, because in August I did an official ceremony where in one of the places where they used to take our people away from Africa, from the Congo to here, I have opened the way, basically, in a symbolic way, with the local chiefs of Mwanda, and I have asked the permission of these kings and chiefs to bring their children back. So we're going to do the first return for the Congo. The returns are well known in Senegal with the Gorée Island, and Ghana, they do ceremony in Nigeria, but this will be a first for Congo as an official ceremony. So it will be a first time that this is happening. So I'm organizing that, and I hope to have, the help of everyone who wants to be involved, because I cannot do everything by my own, but whoever can help, it's because we need our community to do things. So that's a call I'm putting out there. If you are, traveling and just
do you have any idea it will be next year, maybe, or?
I want to do it end of August. So
wow.
after that, we will also have the Congo Jazz Festival, and maybe we can do both at the same time, because I want our people to also get to know the history of the continent of Africa better than they know it, and I want our people to know the history of our children from Africa here so better than we know it, because there is a big lack of information about both our history and the exchange of our histories.
The journey continues. Queen Diambi, much love. Thank you, my friend, for being part of the program.
Much love. Thank you very much for having me. It's a blessing. Thank you for blessing me.
This is the Jake Feinberg Show. We'll see you later.